What's up, folks? Today we are obviously installing windows. I'm really just going to give you one example. There's a lot of work to be done, so I'm not going to capture too much video of this. But I'll give you one example on this window here, how we're doing them. And it's going to be the same way we're doing all the windows, no matter how big or small they are. It's not that simple of a process, but it's not too bad. There's a lot of stuff you've got to consider. There's a ton of examples out there that, there's a lot of right ways to do this. And this method is the one that we chose to use. Are there better methods? Probably. Are there worse methods? Probably. After doing all my online research, I've just kind of decided that this is the way I'm going to do it. So don't come at me if you'd rather do it a different way. Go ahead and do it. But this is what we're going to do. As always, I'm not an expert. This is not the first time I'm installing a window, but the first time I installed a window was yesterday. So take that as you will. Don't necessarily see me as an expert. If you see something I'm doing here that is flat out not right, please let me know. If you see anything that I'm doing here that there's another method that makes it easier or just another preferred method, feel free to jump in and discuss. But just don't come at me if anything I'm doing upsets you, because I really don't care. So your first step here is going to be cutting out your house wrap around your window. Some folks will wrap these, will leave these longer and fold them around on the sides. I found out, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I wish I could give them credit. But I saw that they actually pointed it out and they did a demonstration of it. You're gonna have a gap in between this stud and your window, and you're gonna fill that gap with spray foam. If you wrap this paper around, your spray foam cannot contact your stud, and the spray foam will expand, but since it has nothing to grab onto on this side, except for that house wrap, but the house wrap is gonna leave it free from the stud, it'll actually contract just a hair throughout its cure process. So it'll expand out, and if it's got stuff to hold on to, it's not gonna contract back in. But if it doesn't have anything to hold on to, like that situation, it's gonna contract back in just a little bit, and you will have an air gap there that just won't get full, unless you came and spray foamed behind the paper at that point, but it's gonna be really hard to get back in there. So we're gonna cut all of these flush. We'll come up here and cut on an angle. And when you're doing your house wrap, you can see that these fasteners are closer to the window and these are above. This is the reason we did that way, is so you can have this flap up, and when we install the window, then we'll bring the flap over our window flange and tape it all down. And that's just gonna give you a good continuous surface for your water. If you do have water behind your siding, it's gonna come over that window flange around your window in a way like it's supposed to. So that's why we leave that like that. All these are gonna be flush, and then we'll move on to flashing the windowsill. So a lot of your flashing is going to just stick to the wood. Some of it does require some sort of primer, spray adhesive, or anything else. The stuff we're using doesn't necessarily require it, but if you don't have adequate adhesion that you want, you can just add a little spray adhesive. I'm using this 3M Super 77. I love this stuff. And you're just gonna spray that down on your sill. And you wanna let that flash up a little bit. The way this stuff works, it needs to kind of get tacky before you stick anything to it. Sitting right here in the sun, it's just gonna take 30 seconds or a minute or something like that. And I'm gonna grab the flashing, let that tack up, and we'll keep rolling. So your sill is kind of your most important part as far as your sealing goes. Obviously you want the whole window sealed, but naturally with gravity, this is gonna be the most vulnerable part on your window. Almost forgot. This is another one that some people do it some way and some people do it the other way. We're actually gonna cut back from these sides a little bit. About an inch or so. Like I said in my house wrap video, this woven stuff is not the move. We've got the Tyvek wrap on the other unit, and it's a lot better. It's a lot better insulation. It's a lot better for this kind of stuff. It's just better. But here we are. I probably should have showed you an example on the other unit, but I kind of blew through those yesterday. We were trying to make good time and didn't want to spend all the time making videos because it does take a while. So there you go. You're just really going to expose a little bit of that sheathing. That's going to allow your flashing to attach to your house wrap, but also get a good connection here on your sheathing. We've got, here we did the OSB smooth side out, so you will get a pretty good adhesion surface there. Now, we're gonna start with our flashing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut a couple of strips that are 8 inches wide or so, something like that. 8 inches long or so. Then we're going to press them into this corner. I'm going to come in about flush on the inside, press it into that corner. And anytime you're putting this flashing on, you really want to press it down. Make sure you're getting a good adhesion everywhere you can. You can use a roller, you can use a flat piece of wood, you can just use your hands. I just like to use my hands because I can feel everything and feel that it's in all the grooves and stuff like that. So we're going to take and just cut a line straight out on this thing. We'll take and wrap this down. We'll pull this one around. Smooth them down good. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So the next thing we're going to do is lay a piece of flashing just flush with this bottom edge of our window. And we're going to overhang it a couple inches on either side of the window. So after we got that one up, we're going to cut the same length strip and we're going to run it up to about where we ran our corner pieces and stick it across. And I'm going to cut 2 lines right here and fold it in over the sill. So just run this line right down the edge there. Be careful not to cut any of the existing flashing that you have down for those corner pieces. You don't want to create any holes in that. Just want to cut it down enough, and we're going to fold that over. So we'll pull this in over our sill. Now we're going to flash our sides. Same thing, you just want to run a few inches above and below. And these we are just going to run flush. There's no reason to bring those in here because all of your sealing is going to be on this surface. And then like I said, you're going to come in here and fill this with spray foam. So you don't want any other crap in there that's going to mess up the spray foam's adhesion to all of its surfaces. So we're just going to run this flush here, top and sides, and then it'll be time to install our window. The flashing up here is going to go underneath the house wrap. And really and truly, if you're following the same logic, the spray adhesive on the sill, you might want to put here. I don't think it's necessary because this is where your nailing flange on your window is going to go. So you're going to have all those fasteners going through. You're going to have your silicone in there. It just feels a little redundant to me. and that spray foam, the spray adhesive can kind of get everywhere, and just try to use it as little as I have to. But the logic there tells me that it doesn't really need it, like I said, because you're going to get all your nails through there, so it's not going anywhere. And your seal is going to be inside of your nails. So you have your silicone here, and then all of your nails are going to go here. And then obviously you've got a good contact to your house wrap. So you've just got good contact all the way around. It's not necessary to use that spray adhesive there, unless it just makes you feel better. All right, so now we're gonna run our silicone around. This is our sealer for the window. You do wanna dry fit your window, make sure it's gonna fit in that spot. We've already done that, but you wanna just put it up there without any silicone so that you can make sure that everything's gonna fit. You're gonna run a real generous bead, about a 1/2 inch or so from your edge opening. Down here at the bottom, you want to leave a couple of openings just for drainage, about 4 or 5 inches from your corner, and then 1.5 or 2 inches, something like that, wide. That's going to allow any water that gets back there to drain out of that. Being on the bottom and behind all of your flange and siding and stuff like that, you're really not worried about water getting up through there, but it's going to give any water that gets in there somewhere to go. Almost forgot, you do want to shim the bottom of your window. Most of the time your windows themselves are going to be about a 1/2 inch less than your opening in both directions, so you want about a 1/4 inch or bigger gap all the way around. That's going to allow you to get that good insulation in there and keep you from having any air drafts coming in your house. So I've just got some shims that I made out of 1/4 inch plywood here. I'm just tacking these in place so they don't go anywhere. If you've got somebody inside, you don't really have to tack these down. You'll just have somebody inside making sure that they're in place. You do want to check all of your plumb and level on your openings to make sure your windows are plumb and level, particularly if you've got several close to each other. You just want to make sure everything's uniform. Being that these are on trailers, and I don't know exactly how level the houses are going to be in perpetuity. They're certainly not level right now because I've got my jacks where I've got most of my weight sitting on my wheels instead of my jacks. Before I took the trailer out of level, I did go around and check all my sills, and they're all good and level. I'm satisfied with it. So I'm not going to do any additional shimming, but you may want to do that on your build. That's just up to you as far as whether you're on a fixed foundation or a trailer, or how much you really care about it. Functionality is not really going to change much if your window's a little bit out of plumb, but it can affect it visually if it's too far out. I'm confident that all these are close enough to square that it's going to be pretty negligible, but just some more stuff to think about there. So now you got your shims in place, you've got your caulk, you're ready to install your window. So we're just going to press this thing in from the outside. Normally you would have somebody inside telling you, checking your gaps. Basically what I'm going to do is just set it up, push it all the way over to one side, and then come back just a little bit so that I know I've got gaps on both sides. My shims are going to give me gaps on the bottom, and then my window's properly sized, so I will have gap on the top. I'm going to stick just a couple of nails in this. Just to make me feel a little better about letting go of it. That silicone's gonna hold it on pretty well, but I'm just gonna run inside and check all my gaps to make sure they're good. And then I'm gonna come back around. And these windows recommend at least every other fastener hole needs a fastener. We're just gonna go ahead and use them all because why not? I do wanna move it this way, just a hair. So I'm gonna pull those nails out, move it over, and then put them in. When you're working around here, just be careful because this is your show side of your window. So you don't want to do any damage to this while you're working. So this part gets a little messy because you've got so much silicone in there, but that's just part of it. You want to have good squeeze out on here. You want to see your silicone coming out the sides as you fasten this thing down. So we've got all of our fasteners in. Everything's sealed up, everything's good to go. The last step is just to close out this house wrap flap. We're gonna flap this down over this flange. You may need to cut it back a little bit. That way you've got enough of the flange to tape to. And then you're just gonna run a piece here and then you'll be done. So there you have it, folks. That's how you install a flanged window such as this one. It's not a terribly complex process. You really just want to make sure you're taking your time with the flashing to make sure you've got everything sealed and make sure everything is going to shed water the way you want it to. You also want to make sure you have a good coverage with that silicone. In between my fasteners, I like to press on that flange a little bit if I don't see any squeeze out, just to make sure that I can squeeze some out. So I know I've got good full coverage under that flange. So if you got that good door and window silicone behind there, you've got your flashing properly installed. You've got everything is layered over top. So your house wrap is layered over this flashing is layered over this one, is layered over this one, is layered over this one. So you've got a continuous shedding surface. You don't want to have flashing like that where if water's coming down, it could get under that lip. You want everything laying over top like that. Sorry if this was kind of all over the place. Again, I'm not super experienced at this, so I'm working through it and just trying to teach y'all what I learned just a couple weeks ago. But we're getting through it. It's working out well. This is one of the jobs that I had never done before, but I kind of had a pretty good idea of. We've got all the windows except for the big one in the first unit. And this is the first window on this second unit. Hopefully I'm gonna get the rest of those up today and we'll be ready to move on. So the next video is probably gonna be that NOAA certification video that I've been talking about and just have not done yet. But after that, we're gonna be installing doors, we're gonna be doing our plumbing and our electrical, and then at some point we'll be doing some siding. So I guess that's about all I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in again. Thanks for everybody who's been watching and supporting. I've gotten some really good feedback. We really appreciate that. Sometimes this social media stuff can get a little draining if you're not getting any kickback, if you're not hearing back from the people who are seeing your content, and it's just kind of going out there and then it's dead silence. That can get a little draining. So I really appreciate the support, really appreciate all you guys commenting and asking questions and chiming in, saying great work, stuff like that. This stuff's just a lot more fun when we can all get together and talk about it. So join the conversation if you haven't already, and y'all have a great day.